when you were building your consulting firm, it was actually out of the relationships. And so as you worked with one, they would bring you to a nonprofit board, and then that person, then the board would bring you to multiple people, and it kind of started coming to you at some point in a sense.
General, like sort of blueprint, right, on how I organize things, and so I got sort of 5-point plan, right, and I sort of say that a bit tongue-in-cheek, really. Right, so the first is to do the right thing, right, and the right thing varies based on our individual and unique perspective, right, and the work that we're doing, right. So do the right thing for yourself, for the business, and for others. Once you've identified what that right thing is to do, you have to be able to do it well, right. You have to execute it well. You have to execute it flawlessly. We're in a competitive environment, right, and if you look at sports in particular, sports and entertainment, right, the legal profession, these are highly competitive jobs. If I'm not in this seat, there'll be 50 to 100 resumes, right, tomorrow with people who would want to take this seat, right? So you have to be able to commit to something and to do it well. The third is to do that with love. And what I mean by that is to do it from a space of kindness and compassion, consideration, of inclusion, equity, and to treat other people the way that you want to be treated, because that will follow you throughout your entire career. The fourth is to do no harm, and again, it ties back to the relationships. And then the fifth is to do it all over again.
And maybe you didn't have quite the 5 points laid out at that point. How do you go from getting that incredible offer at the NFL to saying, no, this isn't quite right for me. I'm gonna, what everyone on a very surface level would say, why would you ever, almost cut off your nose that you're doing this point in your career, young executive, probably meeting with the commissioner regularly, and you get this huge opportunity, and they say, no, I'm gonna go do, social work, and that's my calling. And how do you make that? And I think, again, a lot of students with, when they graduate, a lot of student debt, they feel a lot of fear and anxiety of I've got to go make it, I've got to go do this. So how did you kind of break free of that cycle?
Yeah, so I graduated, I think my student debt was $250,000. Might have been more, 300, right? So I had UConn and then 3 graduate degrees. And so it was, I share that anxiety, I understand that anxiety. So one's network is very important, right? And so if you have a network of folks who are all like-minded, you're going to get very similar responses and sense of direction and feedback from people. So if my entire network was sports oriented or business oriented, people would have said exactly what you just said. Surely you can't do that, right? You're crazy. Why? This is a once in a lifetime opportunity. Nobody would ever turn that down. And I had several folks who said that, and I value their opinion. But I try to open myself up to a variety of different perspectives, and I value feedback from different points of view, from different life experiences to help me inform my own, but also having a strong sense of knowing who you are and what matters to you, right? It's your life, it's nobody else's life. You have to make the decisions and your own choices, and you have to live by those. And sometimes I think that we get afraid that we're going to make the wrong choice, and that either paralyzes us and we get frustrated, we get constricted in our life. And a choice that's all that is a choice, and the choice will turn out as it's intended to turn out. And then you'll have another choice that you have to make at another point along the destination. It's rare that there's one choice that's going to be like the definitive choice of one's life, right? And so there were several touch points along the way. So I had folks who said, don't leave the NFL. I had some others who said, you know what, if this is really what you're interested in, the people part, there's a couple of other pathways that you can pursue. Why don't you make a decision on what's best for you? That's what I did. Even closing down my business after 15 years, right? Think about that. I had clients, I had my own schedule, there was a routine, and that was another inflection point. What was I going to do there, right? And so at that point in time, I also had just had a second child, right? So it was, in my view, the best for the family. It gave me a more manageable schedule, more predictable schedule, and so there was other factors that I took into consideration. I missed my clients, I missed having that, and so every time it's a balance, you give and you take.